So I find myself relatively excited about this coming April time frame, roughly late March, April, the next mowing season, because you know the business is really slow. I haven't had anything or much to work on the last couple of months, I guess. Yesterday somebody brought over a gas-powered post hole digger, and I'll put it up next box at the end of this video to that video. And it was a 4-cycle instead of 2-cycle. Most of them are 2-cycle. This one was 4-cycle, but it still has the priming bulb. It actually has a 2-cycle type of carburetor. So instead of putting a fuel oil mixture in there, you have to just use regular gas because it has an oil reservoir. But you got to be careful with those 4-cycles. They sell like, I think still sells a weed eater. I think it has an oil reservoir, but then they have a backpack blower that's 4-cycle that does not have an oil reservoir. So you got to run mix in there. So you got to be very careful. And if you have any questions, you need to call the customer and say, oh, what does it take? Because I listen to the customer, but you don't really want to, you know, for politeness, I should say, but you don't really want to just take their advice. Well, it needs a new spark plug. And so you change the spark plug, of course, that has nothing to do with it. You just go through your diagnostic process. I've talked about that many times. You know, starting fluid in the carburetor, see if it starts. I don't even do anything else. I don't see if it needs gas or if there's this problem with the gas. That's where I start. That way I can eliminate 2 other problems: a spark issue and a compression issue. I have learned my lesson over the winter. I got a chainsaw, and I've always, if it started with starting fluid, and I didn't go any further, I always just worked on the fuel issue. So it's a carburetor issue, gas tank issue, fuel line issue, whatever it is. But I learned my lesson that I really need to take a look at that compression a little bit closer, because it started and it ran, but it was pretty galled up. So when I gave the customer his chainsaw back, he tried to start it, couldn't start it because it had a compression issue, because the cylinder was pretty galled up, the piston in the cylinder. So I will check from now on. I'll take the spark plug out. I bought that new endoscope where I can put the camera down in there. I can look. That way I don't have to disassemble the muffler or anything. And the reason you don't want to have to do more diagnostic than necessary is because that's time, and time is money. Some people charge for the diagnostic process, $15, $20, something like that. But I don't charge anything for diagnostic. I should be able to find it relatively quickly. Now, if it's a lawnmower blade or something like that, I might charge for the diagnostic, because you got to figure out what it is. Is it a belt? Is it a spindle? But if it's an engine, you should be able to just figure it out with those 3 steps. So with that endoscope, I won't be spending a lot more time on it. I usually change the spark plug on everything anyways, especially if it's 2-cycle. Especially if it's 2-cycle. It's just a good idea to change the spark plug out on that regularly, because you got oil inside your cylinder. You're putting gas that has oil in it, and that oil doesn't always burn very clean, so it gums up your spark plug. So it's just a good idea to change it. There's no reason not to. Now on a 4-cycle, it's not quite as necessary. I do for a tune-up, you know, it's a oil change and air filter and all that. I'll change the spark plug, but typically I don't do it. If it needs a carburetor change, I don't change the spark plug on a lawnmower. But if it needs a carburetor change on a chainsaw, I'll go ahead and change the spark plug. So anyway, my point is while that spark plug's out, I can just quickly go down in there with an endoscope before I buy a carburetor or do any carburetor repair. So lesson learned. I guess you're always learning lessons. It's been a long time, you know, nearly 20 years since I did this at any type of regularity. So just got to remember things. I've also been watching a lot of YouTube videos for tips and tricks and different things. I mean, how much can you retain through life, doing it for a while and not doing it for a while? And yeah, there's for example, you don't necessarily have to take the deck off the lawnmower to change a belt. I've always taken the deck off, completely removed it, slid it out, but I can lift the deck up with my lift here, or the mower I should say, and that front bar that runs from it's a securing bar. You just take that off, the deck will drop down, and you can take the belt off there. That was a neat little trick, and that'll save time. And now, I guess the reason I've never taken the deck off is, in the past, I never had anything so convenient as this lawnmower lift. So that'll make things a lot easier. Just dropping that deck down instead of having to take the whole thing out and slide it out. So that was a neat little trick. So, you know, over the winter months, I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos just to make sure that, you know, I can learn as much as I can. Like I said, it's been 20 years since I worked on lawnmowers in any type of regularity. And a lot of things have changed on lawnmowers. But I am pretty excited about this upcoming season, getting, you know, like the endoscope, different tools that I thought I probably could have had this last season. I'm already advertising now. So I'm kind of hoping when people get back from Christmas excitement that they'll get on Facebook and they'll say, hey, you know, that's a good idea. So what I've been saying is, hey, you better check now. I've been trying to draw out a picture for them so they kind of understand what's going, you know, what could happen is, you know, in April it's going to be raining every day. And of course on Saturday it's going to stop raining one Saturday and they're going to be off work. So they're going to go out and mow their hay field because grass has been growing for 2 weeks with non-stop rain, and the mower won't start. Something's wrong with it. So maybe they should check it now before the season starts, because what the problem is in April you're going to bring it to me and you're going to wait a week to 10 days to get parts. You know, I can't stock every air filter. I can stock fuel filters and oil filters and oil, spark plugs. All that is pretty universal, but it seems like every mower has a different air filter, and so I can't stock that many. So you got to order the air filter. So if you do it now, you don't have to wait 7-10 days. I get a tune-up going. I can put a shut-off valve for the carburetor. That way, when they park it, when they go back, when they come pick it up, they can shut that oil filter off. We'll get the battery charged up. I even said I do a little pickup for free within 15 miles of my location, and so hopefully, you know, around January time frame, people will start thinking, yeah, I'm looking forward to spring, and you know, they'll see that post and hopefully they'll you know, call me up and say, hey, can you come get my lawnmower and make sure it runs. But I do want to address something that it's always coming up in the comment section, that I need to have a building, a shed or garage or something. And I'm pretty satisfied with what I got here. I like my little work area. I'm going to put a tarp up because in April it's going to be raining a lot, of course. So I've already got a tarp purchased that I'll hang up off the post here and these trees. In order to have a building, it's going to take money, and then that's going to run a cost. And the higher the price of the cost of the product that I'm selling, you know, the service I'm selling, the less likely I'm going to get business. And I don't find too many customers are that worried about whether I have a garage or not. I've had a couple ask, and I think I may have lost one job because I didn't have a building. But, you know, he come over thumping his chest about how great he is. He had a commercial zero turn, mowing grass for a living. You know, one of these guys charges $200 for a yard, and he spent $10,000 on this zero turn, and he just wanted me to inspect it at the end of the season in October to see that it's going to run the same as it did this year. That's what he said. So he says, where's your building? I ain't going to have you sitting my machinery out in the weather. I said, well, I'm poor. I don't have a building. I can run up the cost you more, cost me more, and we can go get a building, or we can just do it here. And he never came. So, I mean, that's fine. if he wants to run it all over the country, spending a lot of money for his $10,000 zero turn, that's fine. I'm not even sure I want to work on a $10,000 zero turn. I mean, if I break it, then I have to buy it. Of course, I would just buy the part I broke, but you know, there's just a lot of liability that in something that expensive. And I like to say that, you know, I don't want to work on anything that I can't afford to replace. I don't work on ATVs and motorcycles and boats. That's been the 3 things people have asked me to work on, side-by-sides. But those things are so expensive that if I broke one, you know, or it got stolen or whatever, I don't want to have to replace that. So I just don't work on them. And I specifically say lawn equipment. And so that kind of encompasses quite a bit, you know, chainsaw, that you consider that lawn equipment, lawnmowers, weed eaters, air compressors maybe, you know, because I did work on an air compressor. I mean, the guy who asked me to work on it, is it like for a business? Is it for commercial? No, I use it in my garage. So when he brought it over, it had a Honda engine on it. I thought, oh yeah, this is something I can work on. And then that post hole, you know, that's lawn. You're driving a post into your yard. So, you know, these kind of things I can work on. But I don't want to get out of my lane. Stay in my lane, do a specific task. And you got to think about working on lawnmowers. There's such a variety of things to work on. You know, if you're a Chevy mechanic, you work on Chevys. And they're all pretty much the same. You know, you might be different size engines or something, but you have an idea how Chevy works. Same with Briggs. All the Briggs are the same. You might have a double, twin cylinder or single cylinder, but they all basically work the same. But when you're working on chainsaws and weed eaters and Briggs & Stratton and Kawasaki and Honda and Kohler. I mean, Kohler, their electronic system is so much different than Briggs that you really got to be versatile. And you got to really think about how to fix things. So, you know, you start expanding out more, getting into ATVs and all that stuff, then you're having to learn about fuel injection and computer systems. You know, some of them have that stuff. Motorcycles, you know, it's a lot. And then you got to find other distributors for parts. So I just don't want to get out of my lane. Maybe one of these days, if I want more money, I would work on that kind of stuff, but I'm pretty happy with what we're doing now. And I've said in the past, I still want this to be a part-time business. I like to have the winter off. Even if I had a shop, I'd like to have the winter off, simply because I don't like the cold, and you got to heat the shop. So whether you do it with firewood or if you do it with gas or propane or, you know, whatever, electric, you know, that's cost. And I don't want to go at that cost. Even as firewood, people are going to say, firewood don't cost anything. Cut a tree down. But labor is money. Your time is your money. And people just can't seem to wrap their head around that. So I'm pretty excited, kind of thinking about, you know, what the things I want to get, make sure I have everything ready on hand for when the mowers start rolling in. You know, we just looked up shop towels. I want to make sure that we have enough, you know, shop rags around, and how we're going to wash those. Carolyn doesn't want to put them in the washing machine, which I don't blame her. So, you know, bucket wash. So if you'll click this up next box to take that video where I was working on that post hole digger. So if I can inspire you to plan for your jobs so you can live your dreams. Thanks for watching.